Welcome back. We've looked at the topic climate. We are now going to look at the topic vegetation. The two are quite related because climate actually determines the vegetation that is supported by the land. So let's get into the topic. So the topic again, this topic is also quite lengthy, so you may need to pause here and there and maybe skip some sections that you are quite familiar with. Yes, so welcome. So this is our topic today, vegetation, and we are going to define what vegetation is, discuss the factors that influence the distribution of vegetation, identify and describe the characteristics of major vegetation regions of Kenya and the world. We are going to discuss the significance of vegetation and finally identify different types of vegetation and explain the uses within the local environment. That was the importance of our topic, fieldwork. So what is vegetation? This is the collection of plants, plant cover. These are collective plant covers growing in a particular area on the earth's surface. We have different types of vegetation. We have natural vegetation, which grows by natural means. What's important here is you focus on the key points. So this grows by natural means of seed dispersal without interference and external modifying influences, especially people and their animals. So we have semi-natural or derived vegetation. This is natural vegetation, which is in the process of recovering from interference by man. That's semi-natural or derived vegetation. So it's also called secondary vegetation. And 3, we have planted or cultivated vegetation. This is vegetation planted by people. Let's look at the factors that influence the distribution of vegetation. The topographical factors are altitude, where there is no, for example, there is no vegetation on mountaintops because they are very low temperatures which inhibit plant growth. 2, terrain. So gentle slopes which have deep and well-drained soils are best suited for plant growth than steep slopes which have thin soil. So flat areas have poor drainage, hence are swampy and can only support swamp plants. We have aspect. This is under the topographical factors that influence the distribution of vegetation. We have aspect, the wide range of plants on slopes facing the sun and in the direction of rain-bearing winds because they are warmer and wetter. So we have drainage. There's a large variety of plants on well-drained soils. We look at the climatic regions. We just focused on climate in our previous topic, linked above. This is what I mean by above. Yeah, so we have temperature, we have precipitation. So of course, precipitation, there are a large number of plants in areas with high precipitation. That's high, let me call it rainfall. So let's proceed. We have sunlight. There's a large number of plants in areas experiencing long sunshine durations. Wind, there is heavy rainfall in areas where warm moist blow to, hence a large number of plants which may be broad leaves to increase the surface area for transpiration. We have the edaphic factors or soil factors that influence the distribution of vegetation. So here is a definition. So pedology is the study of soils with respect to their origin, characteristics, and how they're utilized. So this is the first characteristics. Fertile soils have a large number of plants, while infertile soils have scant vegetation. So soil pollution, for example, when we have oil spillage, causes drying up of plants. Soils in dry regions which are frequently irrigated tend to accumulate salts in their top layers due to continued evaporation of water. So over time, the salts become saline and they restrict the type of plants that grow in them. And probably finally, we have deep soils have deep-rooted plants such as trees, while shallow soils have shallow-rooted plants such as grasses and shrubs. So we have biotic or biologic factors that influence distribution of vegetation. One, we have the influence of living organisms. So we can see bacteria, earthworms, and other animals below the soil. They improve soil fertility, which leads to more vegetation growth. So I can link up a topic in biology which discusses this in detail. So we have insects and birds pollinate plants, enhancing their propagation. We have also some bacteria, while they improve soil fertility, some of them cause plant disease, which results to death in plants. So, and finally, large herds of wild animals can destroy vegetation through overgrazing and can turn grasslands into deserts. We can look at the human activities. One, clearing of natural vegetation for settlement can lead to desertification. We have bushfires, most of which are caused by human activities. We have overstocking can lead to overgrazing, turning grasslands into deserts. And rehabilitation of deforested areas can stop the spread of deserts. This is a good side. Yeah, that's a good one. So let's look at the factors that influence the distribution of vegetation. Now we've discussed them into details. I would not like you to miss the key details. So under topographical factors, we have altitude, terrain, aspect, and drainage. Under climatic factors, we have the temperature, precipitation, sunlight, and wind. We discussed the edaphic factors, where we define pedology. And under the biological factors, we have the influence of the living organisms and the influence of the human activities. Let's look at these both on how they positively influence the distribution and how they negatively influence the vegetation, the distribution of the vegetation. So we are going to look at the characteristics of major vegetation regions of Kenya, and then we will also look at those of the world. So under this topic, it's quite lengthy. We'll have linked above, or we'll link in case you miss it. You can look at the description about this place. This place will link a detailed video of the same. So this is quite a rush or quite a short summary of the same, so that you don't miss these key classifications or characteristics of the major regions in Kenya. So while we take a break, let me remind you can get the geography app on your Google Play Store, and you'll be able to read on your own all these details at your own pace. A reminder, maybe a good thing about that app, it doesn't require you to have data on or Wi-Fi on to read from, so you can try it out. So we're going to look at the characteristics of major vegetation regions of Kenya and the world. So we have the mangrove forest. I hope you can see it on the screen. Mangrove forests, you can see them around the coast. We have the equatorial forests. We have the plateau forests. We have the mountain forest. We have this one, you can tell this is a mountain forest over here. You can tell this is around Mount Kenya and Aberdare. The Aberdares, and then this one this is around the Rift Valley, where we have the Mau forests. So we have the what's remaining. We have the heath and moorland. This is, of course, on the peaks of high mountains. Near the peaks of the high mountains, we have the coconut and tall grass. That should be along the coast. We have the evergreen woodlands. We have the bush and thicket, which takes up a large part of Kenya. We have scrub vegetation. This is around the desert. We also have the swamp vegetation. So let's look at the topics in detail. We have forests, and under forests we have lowland and plateau forests, which are found along the Kenyan coast between the sea level and 1800 meters altitude. We have the highland or mountain forests. These are found above 1800 meters above sea level on the slopes of Mount Kenya, Aberdare forests, Ivet, Mboni, Kilala, and Marsabit forests. We have here we have indigenous woodlands. These are the type of trees we are able to find there. That's under forests. We look at the savanna. It's the most widespread vegetation, covering about 65% of the total area in Kenya. And so we have woodland and or tree grasslands, which are found along the coastal strip and on the plateau bordering highlands east of the Rift Valley. We have bushland and thicket, which covers about 48% of the savanna, which is found between coastal lands in Machakos and extends to Kitui, Mwingi, Garissa, Wajir, and Mandera districts. So they consist of mixture of thorny acacia and shorter thorny shrubs forming thorny bush, with gaps between bushes, which are bare, covered by scattered varieties of grass. We have highland grasslands. These are found on the undulating slopes of grasslands. Let's look at the semi-desert and the desert vegetation, which covers about 21% of Kenya. So it's found on the parts of northeastern and northern Kenya, around these areas. So it receives insufficient rainfall of less than 380 millimeters annually. So tree species are acacia and comifera. And we'll now look at the heath and moorland. This is vegetation found towards the mountain tops beyond 500 meters above sea level. So it's found on Mount Kenya's Elgon and the Aberdare ranges. So we look at swamp vegetation. This is vegetation found in areas with flat relief, in wet areas along river courses, and areas experiencing periodic flooding. These are both the shores of Lake Victoria, which are fed by Nzoia, Ayala, Nyando, and Sondu rivers. Also along the coast of River Tana, the Loriani, Swampy, Isiolo, Wajir, Garissa, and the mangrove belts along the coast. So the vegetation found here are marshes and grasses with smooth surfaces and long blades and papyrus which are dominant. So we've looked at most of the characteristic vegetation regions of Kenya. And so I hope you can take time and try map out Kenya so that you are able to draw up. This is a task to draw up the various regions. So we have so that you're able to map out the vegetation regions, the zones. So vegetation zones on the world. So they can be classified according to the climatic regions of the world. So in our previous climate class, I had hinted that section, the climatic regions of the world, would heavily determine the types of vegetation we have, the vegetation zones we have. So you can relate or you can look up the video, the recorded class of climate, which you can find at the top here. So let's see what we can cover. A forest. So we also have forests. So a forest is a continuous growth of trees and undergrowths covering large tracts of land. So the forests differ according to species of trees found in them and other general characteristics. So this is brought about by the variations in climate. Again, we meet the term climate. So there are about 8 types of forests in the world, and they include the tropical equatorial rainforests, the mangrove forests, the tropical monsoon forests, the Mediterranean forests, the temperate evergreen forests, the temperate deciduous forests, the coniferous forests, and the mixed forests. So we look at the tropical equatorial forests. They are found in the lowlands of the following climatic belts: the equatorial monsoon, tropical marine, and some parts of the tropical monsoon. And these are the areas this type of vegetation is found. So what are the characteristics? So they are closely set trees with 3 distinct canopies or layers. That's the takeoff point from this one. You should not forget that. So there is less undergrowth on the forest. So due to the light being obstructed by the canopies, so it heads back to this one. So okay, well, trees take a long time to grow. They have large trunks. They have broad leaves to increase the surface area for efficient transpiration due to high precipitation. They are varied. There is varied number of plant species of a small portion. So some trees are heavy and don't float on water, and you can see that the trees take a very long time to mature. What are the uses of these tropical rainforests? So the trees are valuable sources of timber for furniture, building, and construction. Oil palms are for production of palm oil. The cocoa crops are for production of cocoa beans, used to make cocoa, which used to make chocolate and beverages. We have iron nuts used for making buttons. We get fibers which are used to making hats, mats, baskets, and thatching material. So look at mangrove forests. They are found in low-lying muddy coasts of tropical seas, with shallow salty waters. So dominated by species which can survive in waterlogged salty shores. So these areas are along the east coast of Africa. They are the estuary of Amazon River in South America and so on. These are the characteristics dominated by mangrove trees and 30 other species. So the third classification, tropical monsoon forests after mangrove forests. So they are located in areas that experience a marked seasonal drought and high temperatures. So the location could be southwestern and southern coast of Mexico, parts of India, Bangladesh, Burma, Vietnam, and Indonesia, monsoon lands of Australia. So most trees shed leaves during the dry seasons and grow during hot, wet seasons. There's a small number of tree species than tropical rainforests. Trees don't grow together. They have more branches because light penetrating at lower levels. So let's look at the uses of the tropical monsoon forest. So the teak in Burma and Thailand is used for building houses and boats because it's hard and resistant to termites. The bamboo and the rattan creeper are used in making furniture, baskets, and weaving. Young tender shoots of bamboo are consumed as vegetables. Let's look at the Mediterranean forest, found in the following areas: South Europe, North Africa, areas bordering the Mediterranean Sea, also around Cape Town, the central coast of California. Yeah, so forests are open woodlands. Many trees are deciduous. Some trees are evergreen, and many trees are xerophytes. That is, they have long taproots to reach the water deep below during the long dry spells. Notice the adaptation, waxy trees to reduce transpiration. So they have thick leaves and stems to store water. They are small spiny leaves to reduce transpiration as well. So the types of trees we dominant are olive, sweet chestnut, beech, cedar, cypress, eucalyptus. What are the uses of these forests? We can see cocoa is used to make corks for bottling wine. Olive tree fruits are used for cooking and extraction of olive oil. Timber from sweet chestnuts is used for building houses and making furniture. So shrubs and grasses are used as pasture for goats. So we look at the temperate evergreen forests, which are found in areas experiencing warm, temperate eastern margin or China type. That's around southern China, southern Japan. We have evergreen. They are evergreen because of abundance of rainfall. So most trees have broad leaves to increase the surface area for efficient transpiration. Many evergreen trees are hardwoods. The uses are hardwoods such as oak and ironwood are used for furniture and building materials. Softwoods are used for furniture as well. Wattle trunks are used in the coal mines of Natal. Bamboo is used for making furniture as well. So ivory nuts are used for making batons. The young shoots of bamboo are eaten as vegetables in China and Japan. And to look at the temperate deciduous forests, they are found in areas experiencing cool, temperate, western marginal climate. So again, I'll link the climate class at the top so that you can look at it. We have trees are deciduous and shed leaves in autumn and become green in summer. Individual species of trees are scattered and their density per unit area is small. Trees are smaller in size. Trees are broad-leafed. So most of the trees are hardwoods. There's rich undergrowth because of being fairly open. So trees grow in pure stands in some regions, and at others they are mixed. Trees are easier to exploit than tropical hardwoods. These are the uses. Hardwoods such as oak are used for timber. Oak trees fruits are used for feeding pigs. Chestnut and walnut nuts are edible. We have trees include eucalyptus. And you can see maple sap is used for making maple syrup. So let's look at the coniferous forest. It is dominant in cool climates, also known as the taiga and boreal in Russia. So what are the characteristics? Their seeds are cone-shaped. So most trees are softwoods and are light in weight. Trees mature faster than hardwoods of tropical regions. So trees have big portion of stems covered compared to leaves. Tree species occur in big pure stands. Species of trees found here are pines, spruce, larch, and hemlock. So what could be the uses of such? We have softwoods, such as are used for construction and wood pulp used in paper manufacture. And you can look at the adaptations of these trees. Mixed forests. They are found at zone of transition between temperate deciduous and coniferous forests. So I think that's why the mixed forests. Or what do you think? So the characteristics is a mixture of broadleaf deciduous and coniferous trees. These are their uses. Cedar and hazel are used for fencing posts. Grazing activities are carried out where forests are open. So hardwoods such as oak are valuable source of timber, wood, fuel, and charcoal. Maple tree syrup is used for making maple syrup. So you can notice that we are having, indeed, in the uses, we're having a mixture of the deciduous and the coniferous trees. Let's look at the grasslands. They are found in climatic regions where a seasonal pattern occurs with a prolonged drought of about 5 to 7 months. And these could be in the tropical grasslands, the temperate climatic regions. So let's look at the two. So we can see tropical grasslands, they are found in areas experiencing tropical continental climate. And these are the areas listed, and it's divided into two. Open grasslands, where grass is dominant, and woodlands, which receive more rainfall. These are the characteristics. So grasslands with wide space trees such as acacia. Grasses die in dry seasons and sprout quickly when it rains. Most trees are deciduous and shed leaves during the dry season. Trees have long taproots to reach the water deep below during long dry spells. These are the uses. The adaptations of such could be nail-like leaves to reduce transpiration. The leaves with tough wax skin to protect them from winter cold. Yeah, just to name a few. Let's look at the uses. Grass is for grazing and commercial ranching. although it's of low nutritional value. Cereals, wheat farming because the soil is rich in humus resulting from grass cover. So vegetation acts as soil cover to reduce soil erosion. These tropical grasslands are home for wild animals which attract tourists. Trees are habitats for bees which provide honey, and we have some shrubs and herbs which are used for medicine. Temperate grasslands, they are found in continental interiors of temperate grasslands where rainfall is insufficient to sustain forests. And we looked at these actually. In the climate, we have the priors of Canada. We have these 4 regions. We'll review that when we are looking at a topic, agriculture topic in geography. So we have the steppes, Europe and Asia. We have the velds of South Africa, and we have the dunes of Australia and New Zealand. So, and we have now the characteristics. Maybe I'll highlight some so that you can be able to spot the difference. So, continuous tuft grass. Grasses are nutritious. Grass is short. You look at the steps. So, true steps, rich carpet of and some flowering. So, the coarse grass growing in tufts. Grass doesn't form a continuous cover on the ground. Let's look at the pampas. Feather-like grass. Grass forms individual tussocks with patches of bare soil. Forests are present in some areas due to increased moisture. We have the veldt. Grasslands are extensively spread. There is little or no mixture of trees or shrubs. There is a uniform cover of grass on high plateaus. The dunes, tall grass mixed with trees, mixture of temperate and tropical grass species. Grass is nutritious and for livestock. Uses of temperate grasslands. So, of course, for grain cultivation, such as wheat, for cultivation of other crops, such as oilseeds, soya, beans, vegetables, millets. So you can note that sorghum is widely grown in that region. For livestock farming, there are scientifically managed ranches such as the estancias in Argentina. The desert vegetation. This is found in tropical deserts. That's the hot deserts of the world, which include the Sahara, the Arabian, the Kalahari, the Atacama, the Tar Desert, California in Mexico, and the Great Australian Desert. These are the characteristics. Vegetation is present except in bare rock and sun-covered areas. There are more plants on oases. Some plants are succulent to have high water storage capacity. Some have spines to protect them from animals. Some have thorn-like leaves to reduce rate of transpiration. And look at these. We were looking at the tropical desert vegetation. Now we're going to look at the temperate and Arctic desert vegetation. So these are found in warm, temperate deserts and Arctic climates, which includes vegetation of the Arctic climates, that is cold deserts of tundra and the polar climatic regions. So the characteristics of the vegetation there could be grasses and woody plants, woody plants which are xerophytic and halophytic. Shrubs have shallow roots due to permafrost. I hope you can remember what this is. Cover of ice, permanent cover of ice. So plants flower and reduce fruits within short wet season. And produce fruits within short wet season. There is scarce vegetation in tundra. Plants present in Arctic deserts are such as lichens, mosses, and flowering plants such as marsh marigold. What are the uses? Bilberries in temperate deserts bear edible fruits. Small trees are a source of fuel for Eskimos who live in Arctic regions. We have vegetation in tropical deserts is important in arresting sand dunes to prevent them from burying oases and settlements. In tropical deserts, fringes vegetation is valuable food for animals. Date palm is cultivated for its fruit. We look at the mountain vegetation. This is vegetation found towards the top of the mountain. So the vegetation is not uniform all over the mountain due to the effects of temperature and moisture variations. And so we have this diagram. We have this diagram here. So vegetation zones on the mountain slope. From the bottom, we have the savanna, we have the rainforest, we have the temperate forest, we have the, let me zoom it out again. We have the temperate forest, we have the bamboo forests, we have the heath and moorland, and we have the snow and bare rock. So on this side, we have some characteristics. So on the heath and moorland, we have tussock grasses, flowering plants, and high camellia shrubs. In the bamboo forest, we have dwarf conifers which merge with bamboo. In the rainforest, we have trees, of course. And savanna, we have near the rainforest, we have the long grass and shrubs, and far from the rainforest, we have the short grass. And that's it. What are the uses? So the grasslands are used for grazing. The alpine meadows in temperate provide summer grazing. Mountain forests provide timber. Mountain forests provide timber. Mountain forests are habitats for wild animals. Mountain forests help to purify air by absorbing carbon dioxide and provide oxygen. This is through photosynthesis. We have mountain vegetation is also used for research. What is the significance of vegetation as we end this topic? 1. Forests add beauty to countries' landscape. Vegetation protects soil from erosion by wind and rainwater. Vegetation partly decays, forming humus, making the soil fertile. Some plants, roots, barks, and leaves are used for medicine. Forests modify the climate of the surrounding area. They create some microclimates. Some plants such as bamboo shoots and wild fruits are consumed as food. Some fibrous plants such as sisal and jute are used to making rope, sacks, mats, etc. So this is latex. Latex from rubber tree is used for manufacture of rubber used in tire manufacture. So at the end of our topic, we need to make these studies practical. So you can look at your local environment, and at the comment section, tell us what kind of what kind of climate you think you are around. And then based on that, maybe it can guide your thoughts on the vegetation. And you can also note of how you make use of the vegetation in your local environment. That's the end of our class today, and our next topic will be forestry.